Hi, this is Amy at Living Land Permaculture Homestead, and today I'm going to talk to you about winterizing, especially wrapping your beehives. The idea and the research says that preparing your hives with some kind of wintering procedure, if you live up in the north, which we do, we're in New Hampshire, U.S., really can increase their chances of survival. Of course, you start by having a good summer with them where they get enough to eat and you manage their health issues. We won't go into that today, but once you get a little bit farther on, let me show a few things I would have already done by now. We're in early November, and early September I would have put on the mouseguards to keep mice from moving in. And then, depending on the weather, generally early October, early to late October, I'll do a few other things. On the top, I'm going to want to get something, either a foam board or a shavings box, that will help to stop moisture from accumulating and dripping on them. This will prevent the moisture buildup on the top. A shavings box absorbs the moisture. In either case, what I've done here is put on a feeder ring so that if in the spring I want to give them some hard candy, I can fit that in. And then I put on the foam board, and that again manages the moisture. And then on top of that goes directly the telescoping outer cover. I have also put in, I have screen bottom board, and I put in this plastic sticky board, not because of the mice, but to help keep it a little bit tighter in there. I'm not really insulating. What I'm doing is making attempts to stop wind. So really, my focus is on that aspect of winterizing. There's really not much that I'm doing that is truly insulative, but it's about keeping that wind out of there. So we have also already put on an upper entrance. I want them to be able to come and go. I used to open this, but I've decided I think that's too high up, that I'd like to be able to really wrap over top like a hat, really contain more of the heat. So this, I think, is a good compromise, having something far enough up that they can access it, but not let out quite as much hot air as something this high up will do. Now, at the moment, I'm working with what's supposed to be an empty hive, just because I thought it would be easier to show you. It is an extremely warm day, so we do have bees coming to check it out because there's some real, equipment in there. Also, just for authenticity's sake, and to remind you that I think it's always a good idea to wear your veil when you're working your bees, I'm going to put this on. Also, it's something to consider that you will be in a suit, which can be a little bulky, and if it's cold enough, you might be wearing, or if it's warm and the bees are active, or it's really cold, you might have on gloves. So these are just things to consider. One thing I also sometimes do when I'm going to, especially if it were really cold, is I might do that to try to keep as many bees inside as possible. They can still come and go from here, but just trying to contain the situation and make it easy. So now we're going to demonstrate the wrapping part of this. Steve is going to come and help me do that. So come on down, Steve, and hopefully you won't get stung. Hey girls, you can go on home. Oh, they are not happy about that. Well, we're going to measure out. We're working with a new roll here.
to work with when it's warm.
Yeah, so if it were cold, I would have left it inside until the last minute. I'm just putting it over the top.
Oh.
Why don't you hand me the front? Again, if this were filled with bees, one of the main things you're trying to do is not tap it so it opens up and lets them come screaming out. So my goal is to get it so they can still use that upper entrance, but otherwise it's closed.
It's in the right place now?
Yep, why don't you put the lock on. Again, anything that can keep this all together is going to make it all easier. And in the back, we're going to try to go as far down as we can, but still have it so we can fold it. Can you do that?
So where do you want it? At the height of the top of the purple one?
Yeah. It's a great help to do this as a team. It makes it a lot easier if you can work with someone. Okay, so now could you pick this up and I'll center it.
Good?
Nope.
Yep.
Hold on. Nope. Go. Okay, so now you're going to wrap it up. Steve, want to start with me in the front? So we're going to want to do the flap first. That under, yeah. So again, you're just always thinking to yourself how to best do this to keep the wind, especially, in my opinion, out. My experience with getting through the winter, personally, is that if I have to be outside, clothing that helps me deal with the wind, stop the wind, is extremely important. Can you go down and hold that in? Okay. So now I'm going to, hold on, can you hold that for a sec? There we go. So I'm going to hold it in place as much as I can while Steve ties it together. And now if during the process you have shifted the boxes or the top, you will have to kind of pull this up and make sure to realign everything, because again, making holes that air can come and go through isn't going to help you.
This is an overhand on a bite, any way that makes a loop, a fixed loop in the end of the rope, and it's also the correct length to go all the way around with enough to tie a big knot.
When you tie in the front this time, usually we tie them in the back, just to minimize, again, if bees are coming going, you'd just rather be around the back. However, so that you can get a good look at what he's doing.
So this provides a degree of ratcheting action to provide some leverage, but you want to make sure by pulling on this is pulling in this direction, you don't want to pull the box, so you hold and push opposite to your pulling, maybe with some help from someone else, and pinch once it's tight while you tie a slip knot to keep what you have where it is. And then I always put, well, sometimes I don't, sometimes I do, but you could put an overhand on that and that's really pretty solid.
Now I'd like to do that. You need to deal with this. There's a rip in there. Actually, let me just put this. Okay. So handling your tar paper is a really big aspect of this. I always have found tar paper at the dump or the restore. Seems to be out there pretty easily to be found. I did it.
I know, you're just going around with this to clean up the leftover. So you have different sheets.
Yeah, I thought I got it. So now I want a piece. I'm folding it, but I want it big enough to wrap around the front.
Oh, you're losing it at the top again.
Oh.
I've got the screwdriver if you need.
Okay, so what I find is that when the tar paper is stored standing on its end, kind of like I'm holding now,
especially in warm temperatures,
it means it doesn't really come off properly. So you have to keep working with it, which is fine. You just need to be aware and on top of that. Otherwise, you're going to unravel it in a very unhelpful way.
Kind of adhered to itself systematically.
Yeah. We absolutely reuse these pieces over and over. Once they're taken apart and sized right, they can last a really long time. We did have some, that might be enough, Jesus, just it up. We did have some finally really break down, so, and I've actually also been doing a little more wrapping. Hold on, so I want it to go from there to about there.
So at your fingers here, but not your fingers?
That would be the best thing.
Okay, got it.
And straight down, which won't feel like straight because it's on an angle.
Yep.
So I've become more serious about wrapping. I used to just do this one on the top. But again, as more research and information has come out, I've come to believe that a little more help in the winter is good for them. And again, my focus is really on doing that with it dealing with the wind. Let's just see where that will be.
You finish the rip?
Yeah, why don't you take off? Cut it, don't thin it, just
cut it off.
Yep.
Cut it off this way?
Yep. Or do you think that's not going to work?
We'll find out.
Same with that. Again. I want to fold it in this first white line here. I can undo.
So we're tucking the new piece under the first piece we put on.
that all the way to the bottom. Here, I'll take this off so you can see. Still allows them to come and go there by resting on the bottom board. Can you do the tying now? And it's still allowing this opening here.
Right spot?
Yep. Oh, you're overdoing it. Okay, just go that. Now, this isn't complete coverage. There's still this line here. And if you wanted to, you could take another piece that would go over the top and would catch those. And, you know, I don't know if you should or not. If you have a lot of tar paper and want to try it, go for it. Otherwise, you know, this is a lot better than it was. And hopefully we're doing this when it's still warm enough that they can do a little bit of sealing of those cracks. This makes a huge difference in the amount of air infiltration possible. Also, I do want to note, I have been putting the tar paper over the entire top. We used to take the outer cover off and wrap it, but it was just so hard to keep everything in place. Things would move around, and then you'd be trying to shove this on top of your shavings box or foam board, and that's also covered in tar paper, and half the time we couldn't get it on. We'd just be putting... So I decided, I mean, tar paper can take a lot of the elements. That's the beauty of it, so we just did it this way. I think it's probably a little tighter, and it is a lot easier, and it hasn't really led to us losing tar paper yet. I suppose eventually it will all break down, but so far that's worked well. So there you have it. We've wrapped a hive. Again, this is Amy and Steve from Living Land Permaculture Homestead here in New Hampshire, early November, trying to get our bees prepped for winter.